been knocking on my doors for 10 years.
Right, Mary?
Ready when you are.
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Council workshop meeting, Monday, August 3rd, 2020, 6 p.m. Heidrich. Here. Holtmeyer.
Here.
Obermark.
Here.
Patke. Pettit. Scornia.
Here.
Selentrup. Wessels. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meeting dated July 6, 2020? Heidrich. Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Obermark.
Aye.
Scornia.
Yes.
Wessels.
Aye.
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions, any corrections?
Make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Obermark, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated July 6, 2020. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Budget workshop.
Okay, so we have a handout that I just got done handing out right prior to the meeting. We've been working on the budget. Mary's done a lot of work with regards to it as always, but we went over some details over the last week, and as of this afternoon are very close to having a balanced budget, but here's some of the highlights that we have, if you want to call them that. There would be a 5% estimated health insurance increase, which would be effective, as you know, that we start our new rates after the first of the years, but actually it's right after in February. We're looking at a potential wage increase of just 1%. This is included for employees consisting, this is basically for cost of living adjustment. A merit increase could be reevaluated after the first quarter of the new fiscal year, which would be January 1st. Added positions, there are no added positions at this time. Deleted positions, we eliminated the part-time building inspector out of the fire department just because that project has never really taken off. If we want to reconsider that down the road, we can incorporate or add that to the budget at a later date. And we are basing this on we debated about back and forth about how much to go ahead and look at sales tax for the next year. We're cautious about that, and so we just put in a 1% increase for that sales tax. That's be a 1% increase over what we anticipate this year's final estimated amounts will be. And COLA, for example, the latest one that we did this afternoon, I think it was like 0.6% up for cost of living. So which is last couple of years it's been hovering around 2%, so it's lower than that. So that's a good thing, especially when regards to when we're only looking at being able to provide a 1% for the cost of living for the employees. Total capital expenditures, we have about $15 million. There's a lot of grants that we've got that are pending out there with regards to it. The EDA grant that Sal's talked to you about, I think that's just one of them. There's some other projects. And we've not have not budgeted the following upcoming projects in 2021 due to size, complexity, and their timing. So each of these projects will have offsetting revenue source to fund it. So as we receive the grants in, then we'll have a revenue source to go ahead and take care of those. Just the COVID-19 related expenses and projects, those will be stuff that we submit to the CARES Act. And as we move forward, we'll see what the project feasibility will be for a citywide fiber project. If we do that, then you'd have to do a budget amendment at that time. We'd have to go ahead and reutilize some funds. But for the most part, this is a very conservative budget that we've got for you this year. We do have a lot of capital improvement sales tax projects that are still in the works. You'll hear a lot more about those actually tonight at our meeting. But as far as the actual operating budget, et cetera, like I said, we don't have a lot of room to move with that this year. So,
Darren, that deleted position for the fire department, it's in the budget though, right?
It was in there for this year. Yes, it's been in there for the last couple of years. At one point, we were looking at possibly starting that program with the building department. They were going to go ahead and do that without having to go ahead and create the position at that time, but I think that we reached out to some of the industries. There was a lot of questions, and so at this point, we decided to regroup and take it off for the time being.
Darren, that first item where you said 5%, then you, in parentheses, you say 7.5, what is that?
You want to explain that a little bit, Mary? You could have done it from your chair. She's rehabbing her knee.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Walking fine.
Since it renews in February, we only have, 5 months, I guess, actually, that are at the old rate and I guess that would be 8 months at the new rate. So it's actually a 7.5% increase. Does that make sense?
Okay, and if it were the full 12, it would be?
Then it would be the 5%. We're budgeting 5%, but it really wouldn't take effect until February. So it's actually, it accommodates up to a 7.5% increase in rates.
All right, thank you.
Okay?
What was it this year? Do you remember?
I don't know.
I
Sean?
think we had 5%.
I don't know what Anthem actually ended up being. Was it
0?
0%, because we actually saved money? By
By
switching.
switching
by
on the thing. I
switching,
thought we
not
had,
like
I thought we still had an increase with that. Excuse me? Not? Okay.
All right. Well, maybe that could happen again. Oh.
It could. Like I said, we've got very aggressive broker with Strupper and Associates to do a good job of
They do a really
shopping
good
us
job.
around, so.
Okay, thank you.
We just wanted to go ahead and get this out, show you the highlights of what we're looking at for this year's budget. The hearing will be in September. If you have any questions, though, about anything specifically within the budget, it's not like tonight's Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace. You got plenty of time. We just wanted to go ahead and give you an idea of what we're looking at as we present this and for the hearing in September.
And then this is the capital.
Yes, and then attached, you've got copies of all the capital, any projects that we did not get to as a result of the capital improvement sales tax, we moved forward. You can see those. Trying to get to what page those are all listed on. Give me a minute. 10? Thank you. And those include the pool.
You have
You've-
the years of when we might probably do some of these?
Excuse me?
Do you have the years of when we might?
Yeah, they're up at the top, Steve. If you follow up there at the top, you can see the years.
Okay.
So we still have the new fire station. That goes out into 2026. You've got some other projects in here that we're looking at bumping up the airport hangars. Obviously, we're going to give you more information about that tonight. You've got the front and main, the bearing of the utilities. That's in there again this year. We've got some pavilion replacements out at the park and the skate park. Both of those projects we had to roll back into this year. If there's any other projects or anything else that you see on this that you have questions, though, feel free to ask. Or like I said, if you don't think of it now and you want to think about it later, you have plenty of time.
Okay. Any questions or comments at this time?
Report of department heads, communications, final pay requests.
Lisa?
Good evening. Tonight in your council packet, you'll have 2 final pay requests. One of them is for outdoor warning consultants. That's for the completion of our sirens. And the other one is for BuzzCom Inc., and that is for the upgrade that was done on our recording system for the communications. It records our 911 lines, our radio traffic, business lines, that kind of thing. Both projects have been completed satisfactorily, and it's time to pay. Any
Okay.
questions?
Any questions or comments?
You had any complaints about the system, or either way, complaints or comments?
About the sirens?
About this, the way it's working?
No, I've not heard anything since we've replaced the sirens, so,
Okay, good,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Anything else?
Okay, so we'll need to have a motion on each one of those items on the final pay request for outdoor warning consulting.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've moved that forward. The second one is the final pay request for Buscom Incorporated.
So
Any-
move.
okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Holtmeyer, to also forward this on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've moved it on. Thank you.
Public Works, 2020 water rate proposal.
Okay, tonight, I believe John's going to kind of review the water rate proposal. I believe council members asked for some specific information.
Correct, yes.
And,
So, at the last council meeting, I think I briefed you all on the history kind of the water rates, where we kind of stood over the next few years and how we're kind of moving forward. In doing so, I think there's a few examples that I provided. You can see them on the screen, example 1, example 2, example 3, that just kind of shows, how those water rates would affect various, I guess, demographics maybe within our community. First, we started with a 3-bedroom home, and I think you guys wanted to see something of a little bit of a smaller user, such as like a single senior citizen, which uses approximately 2,000 gallons per month. And on the right side, you'll see the addition to their monthly water bill or water rate. Now, keep in mind the utility rates that are included in that, which is water, sewer, trash. That's not representative of an entire water rate. Or, I'm sorry, utility bill. So I also added then the average billing information, and I think you guys saw this. I think I sent this out via email too. But so as average residential gallons is approximately 4,293 gallons a month. The average water bill only of that's $12.34, and then the average utility bill is $50.24. So that's what you would expect just across the board, flat average. Projected water bill only, $16,666, and then the projected average utility bill is $54.56. So you could see that utility bills themselves won't actually go up by even 10%, for your at-home bill and your average use. And I think that was the bulk of the conversation. I've not received any comments from anyone, regarding what's being projected, but we really could put this, I think I gave you some information regarding how much additional revenue this would bring for the water department and what we could do after that. So if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer anything additional.
So you can get 4,200 gallons of water for $12.34?
Under today's rates.
That's correct. Projected would be $16.66.
So,
Still pretty cheap.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that a little bit too. That still keeps us actually in the bottom 5 for the state in communities our size. So right now, and I don't have that up here right now, but right now we're actually the last. Communities 10,000 and higher, we have the lowest water rate out of anyone. This would actually still keep us in that lower 5, which is would really assist the water department to move up in that a little bit in order to replace some of these water lines that we need to do. You'll also see in the capital improvement sales tax that Mary had on there, 2023, I think, was $600,000 was allocated at page 10, $600,000. That's only about half of what's needed to build that water tank. So we have to come up with some additional revenue in order to get that tank built.
It comes to about $1 a gallon, right?
That's about right, yeah. We're looking at some things to try to drive that cost down a little bit, but that's about right.
You said the last increase was in 1991?
It was 2000
No,
and
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry,
2000.
2001?
it was 2009, and then it was phased in over 3 years to 2012. Yeah. And that's essentially what, if you recall, there was essentially, we're condensing the rate schedule by taking one of the intermediate ones. You can see it up there. The existing rate schedule is at the top here. And then going to like a service charge situation with an intermediate, I guess, benchmark essentially removed from the water rate to try to capture a little bit more of that revenue.
When do you
will
want to
be
act
a-
on this?
The
We are
17th?
We are hoping to have an ordinance in front of you on the 17th. It would not go into effect until next budget year, which would, October 1st.
October.
Is the plan.
And there'll be a CPI in there for,
Correct. There'll be a.
not on the service charge, but on the
Correct.
product.
So
On
the
the two
service charge,
tiers.
the service charge that we're proposing is $7 for any active meter. So the CPI that would go into effect each October 1st of the following year, or in the next year, would not be incorporated on that $7 service charge. It would only get applied to the 225. So for example, if CPI was 2%, just pick a number, 2%, you would see 2.25 times 1.02, which comes up to an additional, pick a number, 45 cents, is that right? No, no, that's not right. 4.5 cents. It's just 2% increase.
Yeah, I think making all this information available to the public is important. I mean, the comparisons to other cities, the how long it's been since we did it, and what it does to the water bill and the total utility bill. I think all that information would be good.
And I mean, we've presented at the last council meeting. I mean, if there's a different mechanism to try to get it out there, we can definitely look at that.
Yeah, you're looking at a 4-cent increase on the first
4.
tier and 3 cent on that second.
If there was a 2%.
If it was 2%, yeah.
Like this
Using
year,
that as an
0.6.
example. This year it'd be 0.6 if you followed the timing of it. I mean, it all depends on the timing of when you decide to do that. We're going to talk about that, how we want to time that. My guess would be is we'd want to take a look at that at the first of the fiscal year, and that'd probably be the best way to do it. That would be my first guess, but I mean, we pick a time anytime.
Can we put that in the water bill, maybe? This information? Or would it be confusing?
I think confuse people.
I think you might get some confusion, but we could certainly,
Or, I don't know, best way to get it out there.
we could think of an informational flyer that we could go ahead and get sent out. If it gets passed, then we could go ahead and say, expect your bill to be this in October.
That's cool.
That's something I think we need to do, thanks, John, for breaking that down, because I didn't want, people on fixed incomes or, budget to all of a sudden get hit with a $7 an hour, or 7-month extra charge, or this or that. Now they kind of know what's happening. It's not as much as I was thinking initially, so. Thank you.
Okay, so everybody good right now on this?
Yep.
Okay,
We will
thank
have
you,
an
John,
ordinance
for,
to you then on the 17th.
And if you guys have any comments on that prior to, I mean, just shoot them over to me and we can address anything. I mean, we basically ran all these numbers off of 2018 actual usage. So I can literally go to every single meter in the city that was active in 2018 and project out what that bill would be. So, for example, if,
I don't think that's necessary. I think the way you've got it is probably
Well, I'm
work
just saying
out
if you
good
get
for
those-
everybody.
okay,
and I think when we stress the fact that we haven't done anything for almost 10 years,
Yeah, and we're
Right.
still not top of the list either.
and we're
Right.
still, gosh, I
We're
thought
nowhere
we,
near the top.
I thought we did
It's
get up there a
forever.
little bit. Well, we did move
well,
up
we did.
5.
I mean, well, we were starting about 10% behind everyone else.
Yeah.
So you have to.
And we did, just again to remind you, we've met with several of the high-end users of this couple of industries and spoken to Mercy as an example, as one of the higher users. So we've let them know.
Speaking in terms of water, I know a few years back, we were talking about the price of water hookups and stuff for new construction was very minimal. We were gonna
We-
raise that rate up. We're
They-
good?
They were raised up, actually. I think you all raised them in 14, And, gosh, I don't know when they went, I'm going to be wrong on that date, though. It was raised up, and we identified in 2017 that for some whatever reason, the calculator sheet was not updated. So they were raised per council, but they never got raised on the revenue side.
That's what it is. I know
And we got that taken care of back then, so it's good now. But there was a window there where we weren't taking advantage of that increase.
None of those rates need to be looked at the same time?
No, I looked at, we checked those a couple years ago, or 2 years ago. I checked MSD, St. Louis, all the other municipalities. They were all kind of in line with what they were showing. I mean, a 3/4 inch water tap right now is $600, which is, with around the area, that's pretty reasonable. And I'd have to go back and look at that. That was 3 years ago when I looked at those. But I don't see a need to do that right this second. It's the use rates that are really getting it right now. I mean, when you're talking, if you increase, let's just say you increased it by $100 over how many houses that go in each year, that's not a whole lot of revenue. So.
Okay. Anything else?
In Situ Farms Technologies CIPP Project 2020.
Darren, I can hit on these real quick if you want, or we could wait till.
What's that?
These other items, we can hit on these or wait till the council meeting?
You know what, I tell you what, if we could wait on some of these other items tonight, because he's got, I guess what I'd like to do now, if we can, Mayor, if we could go ahead and have the parks go ahead and discuss the pool, because we have a couple representatives with them here, so we could jump to that item on the
Sure.
agenda, and then we can circle back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, come on up.
Good evening, council. Before you'll see change orders 1 and 2 for the new aquatics facility. Change order 1 was for $123,239, and you guys originally, the council approved that at the June 1st meeting, and that was to expand the scope of the design by we added some features and deleted other features. And you'll see the attached bills. You should have seen the attached bills in your packet there. The second change order is a result of finding some concrete below the stainless steel pool that was not clear or not clearly shown on the drawings dating back to 1930 and 1982. The structures were parts of the old pool, solid concrete, vertical walls, and the floor of the old pool. And so our contractor, Westport, agreed to share these costs equally with the city. And so change order number 2 is for $8,174. And attached in your packet, you can see the costs broken down on how we were charged, and then the bill split in half with Westport.
Any questions or comments about either of these items?
We still on target to get opened?
We're probably, I was talking with Ryan from Westport today, we're probably about 30 days behind, just because of the breaking up of the rock and removal of the rock. But they're trying hard to move through that delay and get us back on track. So I guess.
I talk about the rock shelf now, the next one. These are the two that we've got. The one that they just finished up, Greg Kudron's here from Landmark, and probably give, or Wayne, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just
tell
give you guys an idea. This is probably the bigger change in the item with the rock shelf and what we experienced and what we're going to have to go ahead and do. Essentially, and I'll give a preview real quick if you don't mind, Wayne.
Yeah.
As you'll remember, we were going to put reuse the bathhouse by using the lower level with the men's restroom and putting the pumps down there. That was part of the concept that we had as we wanted to go ahead and move forward. As they got to go ahead and start, and once they got the concrete out that was talked about in the change order number 2, there was a rock shelf that was there. And if you've gone out there and looked, I don't know, do you have, I didn't ask you to put up any pictures, but I know we've got, but anybody that's went out there, you could see clearly there was rock out there. And nobody necessarily knew that rock was there, because just sitting over there, like John said, 25 yards away, and you had where our old one was, and you had no sign of that. So But we were worried about that building being sitting on the rock shelf, and if you had to jackhammer out that basement or that floor and drop that down, 5 feet was what we were going with? And then, so if you drop that out 5 feet, they're worried about the structure of the building itself and whether or not I'd be able to withstand that. How would you go ahead and do that? So what we put our minds back together and said, well, what if we just added on to the existing building that was going to be proposed as part of this project? And I think it's a 17 by 40 addition off of there that would go ahead and put the pumps within that building to go ahead and move them that way rather than have them under the house. Now, we can still probably go ahead and use the bathhouse for other stuff down the road. You can still go ahead and utilize it for restrooms if you still wanted to go ahead and make that as a secondary restroom. If you wanted to use it for storage space, we could certainly go ahead and use it for that. Or if we wanted to open up and make it another shade structure for part of the pool and that end of the pool, that could be done as well.
Or even like a party room type.
So you could still reuse it and do everything else, but we did have to make the change with regards to that. And do we have a total number on that? Or I'll leave that up to Greg if we know ballpark of where we're at. If you can come up and approach the podium.
Greg will give you a more.
Because we've got it on, come on up, Greg.
So just to add to what Darren's saying, he laid it out really pretty well, but finding this really what would contractually call or fall under the guise of a differing site condition, no signs of any rock there. Like I think it was John saying that just 20 yards away where the deep end of the old pool was, nothing. And it just happened to hit right where the deep end of this new pool design's gonna be. The driver of having to remove the rock, like Darren was saying, basically made the existing building not feasible to do and would really compromise the integrity of that building. So the rock drove two things. One, to move the pool equipment room into the new pool house. And unlike Darren was saying, it's about 17 feet by 40 feet, 17 wide, 40 feet. We looked at, we meaning the city, Westport Pools, at multiple options before this was converged on. Some was just an independent pool house. We started looking at that, and the costs were going to cost even more. And then we looked at a possibility of maybe putting it under the toilet rooms, which are on the west side, doing it as a basement, basically. But the costs to do that, there was extensive retaining walls because it's now below grade, additional storm lines, additional manhole structures to accommodate that, drain features, waterproofing. When you start looking at all this, suspended sidewalks to keep the sidewalks around the new pool house, it just became infeasible, and it was easily way over 6 digits in cost. So we regrouped, rediscussed it, and figured the simplest, easy way is to just extend the existing pool house. So this was an evolution of multiple discussions and looking at this, looking at that, looking at this, and to try and converge on what made the most sense. And I know Wayne could talk to this better than I can. The operational side, by having it there, would be something more desired that probably right out the gate would be very desirable. I know you can talk more to that. John was very instrumental in giving some thoughts and suggestions on reworking the site when we put this up on grade level, same level as everything else, narrowing some drive lanes, resituating the parking lot. I don't remember what they all were, but so it really was a collaborative effort, and there was a good team effort to get this to be where it was. So I don't know, Darren, we're still working on the final numbers, if you want to share anything at this point, because there's a number of things still coming together. If you want to share some of those numbers right now.
Well, I mean, I think in round terms, if I may, it's around 50,000 is what they were looking at to go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
Which is a lot better than going underneath, and
Yeah.
it's certainly much better than trying to go ahead and chip away at all that rock underneath the bathhouse and then still run into a problem, whatever you may uncover there.
And this now makes that deep end deep enough for if we ever wanted to have a high dive?
That's still there.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a very good question, and that was one of the things we talked about. Going through all this effort, at this point, breaking rock is not an exact science like cutting a 2x4. It could break in 6 inches or it could break in 18 inches when the big hammer's hitting the rock shelf. So bottom line, yes, it made sense to just keep doing that with that operation already in motion. So that is being accommodated, yes.
And I'll speak a little bit on behalf of Wayne with regards to it. We did talk initially about having these pumps incorporated within the building. We just wanted to see if we could save costs by going ahead and putting them within the existing structure and repurpose it. So we did our college try to go ahead and do that. Unfortunately, I think you're not there. It's going to be much more economically feasible to go ahead and just add it to the existing building. It's being built.
And then, of course, there will be, we talked about the rock shelf being a driver of, now, the new location of the pool equipment room, but then there's the cost of removing the rock itself.
Greg, I don't know if this is a question for you or not, but
Okay?
probably because the old pool was in place yet, but was there any test holes even dug at all?
Not initially. We talked about that, but because of all of the different designs, there'd be some test holes done everywhere and may not even be needed because the design finally selected was a different footprint, if you remember the 3 that were shown. And I will say this, if I remember correctly, the other 2 designs, at some point in time, this would have been an impact. So although it's unfortunate news that this was encountered, it cost-wise, it may, at the end of the day, actually force a much better pool total complex for the next 30 years or however long the city is moving forward with this particular design. If it had been known early on, I think that the 3 designers, I'm speculating here, but having been through this before, it would have been accommodated in their RFP proposals. And since you don't really know, it's there, but you don't really know the extent because we don't have X-ray vision. And I've been doing this a long time. You can have a hole here. We almost ran into this, a hole, and it only really tells you what's at that 4-inch diameter hole you drill. 5 feet away, it could be deeper, it could be nothing. And we kind of ran into that situation more than 5 feet in here. So what I'm getting at is that could have been accommodated in all the proposals. So we'd have had inflated numbers to accommodate this, which then would impact final features and the things that the pool's really all about. And by doing it this way, just by default, we could just do it on a time and material basis and just actually incorporate whatever cost it actually took. And we negotiated equipment rates with Westport Pools to make sure they were all fair and reasonable rates. So I don't know if that answered your question or not,
Yeah.
but that's kind of how we got there.
Darren, is that 50 you're talking about, is that in addition to the?
You'd have the rock, and then you'd have the rock shelf, how much the time and material that we spent digging that out, and then you've got this cost on to go ahead and add that on. So the 50 is just to add on to the building.
Correct. And if you wanted a ballpark number right now, based on what we've been doing, we're running just a little over $25,000 on the rock removal. But basically, the core is already done. They finished it today. There's a little bit more they have to do for the drain lines because they got to go down under the bottom. And Ryan, you can even talk to that a little more if necessary. So there's just a little bit more to do, but the main core, the main deep end to accommodate the 13-foot high dive, which is flat, and then it slopes up as you go to the south, that is complete. And actually, Ryan and I were just out there before the meeting just to get a really good feel for it before the council.
So the 17 by 40 is the extra 50.
That's correct.
And where does that take us on the original 4 million?
You would be at, right now, with change order number 2, you would be, you got 4123, you're at 4131, 4181 with the building. I'd say you're probably going to be at 4.2.
And
Somewhere around
how
there.
do we, how are we gonna handle that?
Well, what you're going to have to do is we'll look at our capital improvement sales tax and all the projects that we have within there. If we've got savings, for example, some of that savings from some of the other projects will be added to the pool. So for example, I mean, and Wayne doesn't like me to say this probably or whatever. I am grinning behind this mask. There's a storage building that they wanted to go ahead and have that was included within the capital improvement sales tax, and it was a steep price on that. And anyway, I would, the first thing would be is probably take it out of some of that and do something a little bit cheaper. Think of go back to the drawing board on that project and see if we can bring that cost down to accommodate it.
Are we over what we budgeted for the pool already?
Yes, you had about you had $4 million basically that we set aside.
Okay.
Now, we also had, within that $4 million too, we had a $100,000 gift from the Nita Yeager Trust that was included to get us to that 4. So,
That included the surveys and everything that we did.
yes, you had some survey work done, that when we got all the survey results, I think that work was around $25,000. We've got about $200,000 in round numbers for the owner's rep contract. So that left us back to about the 3.8 to go ahead and do the pool. We added another 100,000, threw in another 100,000 for the thing, looked at the features. So we are at the, I've asked the question, are we there with regards to unforeseen? And I think now that we're down and we've gotten everything underneath, we feel pretty comfortable moving forward, so.
There's a few things we're gonna do to possibly recoup some of those costs, including some of the amenities might be possibly covered under the CARES Act. That could be about 100,000 possibly. And then we're going to have, if you remember the pictures that have been released to the media, several canopies, especially along that South Hillside. Those could possibly be up for sponsorships, and then not right away, but we're going to, in the deck, we're going to add 2 additional foundations for like these fun umbrellas, similar to what we had at the leisure pool that had the Lions logo on them. We're going to add 2 of those to the deck foundation. So they won't be there when we open the pool, but if we get interested in someone sponsoring them, then we could buy them, and that sponsorship would pay for the umbrella, and we'd have some extra shade structures. So we're chipping away at it slowly but surely.
Okay. Thank you. So, any other discussion? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion to send this on to council.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentreb, seconded by Hydrich to pass this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've moved it forward. Thank you. Now, should we go back up to
Well, I was going to say, let's let, if you don't mind, let's let Tim go ahead and.
Tim? You want
Fire
to do
department.
the fire department?
Good evening, council. We did some evaluation of the facilities. It started with headquarters, and we extended out to stations 3 and 4 to look at them from a brick ceiling perspective. And I spoke about this about a month ago. We went out for bids, and Cornerstone Contracting was the low bid. We actually sought out people to take bids and bid this work. We had 3 bid it, Cornerstone, Packey Restoration, and B&K Tuck Pointing. Cornerstone was the low at $23,731.15. Packey was at $41,940, and B&K was at $46,500. Spec to spec, the materials they're using, the methods they're using, they're all matching up. So it's a apples to apples comparison for the work. So we're requesting that ordinance is passed to execute a contract with Cornerstone Contracting for the sealing of brickwork and cleaning of the facilities at stations 3, 4, and headquarters.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Make a motion. send it on to council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Hydrich, to move this on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you forwarded on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Tim.
I want to go back to John.
Okay.
Yep,
Go ahead,
sorry.
John.
Okay, so within your city council packet, you should have gotten a letter from myself that basically identifies a CIPP, which is a slip lining of sewer line project for 2020. The sewer fund had $150,000 budgeted for that. The stormwater fund also had $40,000 budgeted. We can utilize both of those funds to slip line sewer lines within the city, within our system. Kevin and I worked together to come up with just a location of where we should do this. Some new technology is out that allow us to slip line 6-inch sewer line. Previously, you could only get down to 8-inch, but now you can actually get down to 6-inch, and there's a lot of 6-inch kind of around the shoe factory. So with the redevelopment kind of going on there, it kind of just made sense that maybe that was a good target spot to do that. All that sewage makes its way down to Front Street, which is important because, as you may or may not aware, we do have some infiltration, inflow type situations that does impact Front Street. So this project will line approximately 5,500 feet of a 6-inch sewer line. Kevin's working through right now on just doing some additional due diligence to see if they can be slip lined. If you have clay pipe that's offset, you really can't slip line that, so he's working through that right now. But it is budgeted, and they could mobilize here fairly quickly to get that taken care of. So over a mile of sewer line to be essentially slip line repaired.
Talking about Situ Farm,
Yes, sir. Yep.
6-inch?
6-inch. Yep. We might mix in some 8-inch and some 10-inch, just depending on the quantity and if it can actually be slip lined. So.
Any questions, comments?
Make motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Overmark, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you sent it on. Thank you.
Okay, the next item, part of the CARES Act essentially allocated or earmarked $30,000 to our airport. That money can be utilized to pay for capital expenditures or operations, so salaries, general operations. So in talking to Darren, there's a need for our AWOS, our Weather Observation Station. It's kind of on its last legs. You can't really get parts for it anymore. So we are looking at, once we receive the funds, to move forward with the project to purchase a new AWOS system. I talked to Mark Scorney about that a little bit today, or on Friday. We want to make sure that it's compatible with our public safety. That way we can all get use of the system. But $17,000 of that would go to the purchasing the AWOS. The remaining $13,000 would just go to offset, just basic salaries and just general expenditures. So.
You know how old the old one was, or the one,
That's what I was
the
gonna
current one is?
I don't.
I'd have to go back and I can check on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know.
You remember?
Well, there you go.
And it's outdated already?
Yeah, they had an issue with a lightning strike, and they were having issues getting parts for it. So
How much?
we could look at it's about 17,000, and we could look at it too, just to make I could verify again. But that was just one capital project that we thought would be good for that, because again, it's a safety issue, and
Yeah.
it would seem to make sense that CARES funding should be used for that type of thing. So.
Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, we'll have a motion to send this on.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Hydrich, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've moved it forward. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is in your council packet. You'll have a consultant agreement for hangar construction. So the long-awaited increase in hangars. So We've been talking about this for some time. If you recall, we received a significant amount of rock from the Missouri River project, or the bridge project that got sent over to the airport at a location between the Hangar A, which is the one closest, and the actual taxiway. This hangar will be constructed in that general facility. Part of the airport layout plan was actually to purchase some property to the west. So we get $150,000 a year from MoDOT to do capital projects. That money can be utilized for purchasing of ground, building things, those type of things. So in an effort to speed up the hangars construction, we were just going to build it on our own property. Seems like it makes the most sense. So with that, we went to MoDOT with a proposal on a 12-bay hangar. That's approximately a $1.2 million project. You could only have $450,000 in the money from the feds, and then you actually have to, you'll have to kind of bridge the gap with the funding. Capital Improvement Sales Tax has that money in it to do so. It can bridge that funding gap to get from 450 to 1.2. In talking with MoDOT, though, there may be an opportunity for us to get some additional funding due to the closure of the St. Clair Airport. So I will definitely brief you guys more on that once the details come out, probably at the next council meeting, but it's looking very favorable for us. That 450 number might go up pretty substantially about what MoDOT's participation in this hangar construction would be.
The most entitlement money we can use is $450,000.
It's 450. We can only get 450 before you start losing it. So 1.2 minus 450 is what we would have to come up with our own money. That was capital improvement money, but we were being told by MoDOT that there might be an opportunity to utilize some additional funding due to the closure of the St. Clair Airport. So I'll have more details on that the next meeting. But
Are you saying that you're going to get money from the sale of the airport in St. Clair?
Potentially, which is huge, because that could take
That'd be the remainder of the 450 off the 1.2.
Potentially.
It'd get us down to the potential
10%.
to get us down to 10% of the total cost.
So you could be looking at 1.2 minus 450. So what is that?
650,
650.
750.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6.5. You could look at potentially getting down to where it only costs you 200,000 or 220,000, which is huge numbers.
And we can get started earlier.
And we get started almost 3 years earlier, because again, you only get 150,000 a year, and you could only save up to 450,000. So you're actually starting 3 years earlier as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really positive. And I'll have more details for you, but the goal would be here is to have design done by the winter, December, January-ish, and then hopefully be bidding it late winter. And I would hope that we'd be under construction, kind of getting closer to seeing some buildings getting slapped up by this time next year, which would be huge.
How large was that last hangar built over there?
10. I think it was 10.
10.
I think it was smaller.
But the thing is, we got 18 people on the waiting list right now.
Right.
Correct.
And
So if you build 12, you're not even
You're
accommodating
still going to have, now the way these are being set up, though, is you can construct onto them. So if they end right here, you could just keep building them out. So you can build 2 at a time forever if you wanted to. Because we have all that property there, like I said, on the south side of the taxiway.
And when does MoDOT think that money on St. Clair Airport's going? I mean, they've been talking about that for long.
We should know pretty soon.
Yep.
Really?
I have a letter from MoDOT stating that it's coming to us. Now, the dollar numbers is what I don't have detailed yet, but they are saying the gap in funding that they would pay for it, which is huge.
Yeah.
So, more to come. This would
Okay.
just be a contract to
So
approve
this is
the
the contract
design.
to design it. So
Yep.
any other questions? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Hydrich, seconded by Holtmeyer, to forward this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you passed it on. Thank you.
Okay, next item is the TAP grant application. So I think I kind of briefed you all on this, maybe at the last meeting as well, but East-West Gateway has an opportunity for an 80/20 transportation grant. TAP is Transportation Alternative Program. What that means is any way that you can travel without a car, essentially. So walking is the oldest form of transportation, so it is eligible for any kind of walking project. So with that, we're proposing to try to get a grant to essentially rehab all the sidewalks, all the intersections, all the pavers, everything from Jefferson Street to the west to Stafford on Front Street. So if you notice, the pavers were put in the 80s. They're all, they don't meet, they're not ADA compliant. There's various trip hazards on Front Street. This would essentially replace all that. It would be a 2024 project. It would have obviously some issues with the businesses while it's being under construction, but once it's done, I mean, this has the potential to be a really, really nice amenity that's needed as far as pedestrian access goes. We are estimating right around 1.05 million to get all that taken care of. Again, it'd be new pavers, there'd be a lot of coordination with the Historical Society, all that stuff to get that taken care of. Right now, I'm just asking for a resolution in support to put in with the application, and then there's an application fee of $4,228. That is a refundable application fee. We don't get it, we get the money back.
Has any conversation ever been brought up about, instead of using pavers, is doing the,
Stamped concrete.
yeah,
Yes, we will be looking at that. Now, I go back and forth. I agree stamped concrete is a good opportunity. However, those pavers have been there since the 80s, so.
constantly fixing the pavers? I mean, you got some that are broken out.
You are, yes. The pavers also provide a kind of a stormwater somewhat component because they're pervious. They allow water essentially to soak in. That is a plus in the application process. So how much of a plus, I don't really know. I would say it's all on the table.
Be worth
Stamped
looking
concrete.
out.
What's that?
Be worth looking at.
For sure. It's,
I mean, you can get the same design,
you
pretty
can,
close.
there's various, products out there now for kind of giving that paver kind of look. There's also like an epoxy kind of sealer you can put on to give it kind of that herringbone type look too. They're putting up in Chicago. There's a bunch of different ways you can do this now.
But if we're going with a 100% replacement of all pavers, it'd be worth looking into the cost of both of them.
Correct. And we definitely would. That's this is a big project for that area. It actually works out well because it would be
I
right.
know as much as we run down there with, one snow for one.
Right.
Could go down and knock those things out, and we're constantly doing some repair to them, which would be worth looking into.
For sure. Yeah, once the design kind of shakes out, we'll obviously vet both concepts. So like I said, tonight, we're just looking for a resolution of support for that. That grant is due third week in August. With our ADA transition plan and all those things, I mean, I think we're sitting pretty to get it. So 80/20 on 1.1 million is a pretty good deal for us.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Obermark to send this one on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Okay, last item, probably the most exciting item, is the paving contract for the Riverfront Trail. So, as I think, again, I briefed you that we received $139,500, I think, as a payment when the bridge project started to shut the trail down. It was a direct payment to utilize the trail. Part of that agreement, though, was Alberici was to restore the trail to its existing condition. So what's an existing condition of a 20-year-old trail? Well, it becomes basically a quilt patchwork of a trail. They would literally just go in there, remove the rock, most likely, and patch it all back up again. That is not what we expect. We expect something new, reconstructed. So knowing that, and knowing that Alberici and MoDOT wanted to essentially get out of the project as fast as they could, or complete it as fast as we could, not get out of it. But we negotiated with Alberici essentially a buyout of an additional, whatever 251 minus 139 was.
Around 116, 117.
Yep, exactly, thank you. And that would be enough money to essentially restore the trail from the bridge to the east and then overlay the trail from the bridge to the west. So you would have a brand-new piece of pavement once this thing was opened.
Just the waterworks.
Just the waterworks, correct?
The waterworks, yeah.
Yes, correct. Yeah, sorry, you're right. Just the waterworks. So I think we talked about that in great detail when we were trying to get that agreement worked out. And there was some discussion on widths and those type of things. Anyway, it was decided on restore what was there. We estimated that at $222,000, so there would be essentially, $28,000 left over to re-pour the concrete pads, signage, all those things. The bids came in very favorable. 191,060 is the actual bid. That is I would anticipate the actual constructed number to go up because we had to haul more rock to the west. That was not part of the bid package. But even then, we're already running almost 30,000 below what the estimate was. What would we do with that money? Well, essentially, we're going to be looking at doing some additional amenities with concrete pads, maybe even constructing a few pads in preparation for the future if somebody wanted to do a bench situation. I don't know. But that's a favorable bid, and all that we're doing is just asking for your approval. Once the contract is signed and the city gets everything, if we get everything prepped and ready to go, the contractor will have 10 days to get in there and pave it. Once that's done, we'll have final prep work. We're hoping for sometime around mid-fall as a grand reopening. That's the current schedule. This rain has really hurt that schedule. That was a lot of rain we've had the last couple days. And the 10-day forecast, if anyone saw it, is a 50% chance every single day. So there's a lot of
John, why is
ifs.
270,000 in my mind?
270?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Never was 270?
Nope.
Alberisi wasn't going to write us a check for 270, we'd take care of it ourselves?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, it was about half, well, like I said, it was around 118,000 or something like that. You had the easement that MoDOT acquired from the city before the project started. And then this is what we negotiated with Alberisi for them to walk away and us take the money.
Now also, there's also benefit that we've had is the rock that was in the river got moved to a washout area at essentially no cost in our manpower.
Right.
So that's a huge benefit because it was all tore up. Let's just get it done now. And there was also some fill brought out that we were able to repurpose at a different location. So we got all the rock over to the airport, which is a huge benefit. So, there's these other soft benefits that you don't necessarily see, but we got all that rock essentially for free that we're repurposing as well. This is again, a pretty good, everything's looking up.
Need a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Hydrich, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? For your vote, you've moved it forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got 2 minutes for somebody.
Does anybody need to address the council of a department head or anything?
Just a real quick thing. I really appreciate when John, he put in each of those items, how he sees it's being paid for. I always feel bad because I always say, how are you going to pay for that? How are you going to pay for that? I really appreciate when the department has it, when they bring something up, that they put in there, how is it going to be paid? If you've already got it budgeted, just say so. If you got a grant coming, just say so. Or if you're saying, we don't have it budgeted, but we're really in need here, it's an emergency, whatever. But it just makes it, I don't know.
Instead of Mary saying we don't have the money?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mark.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sullentrup, seconded by Hydrich, to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.